Okay. And tell me when I can turn on Indian River Hauntings. All right. Okay, on. It doesn't say live. Yes, we're live right now. I see your computer. I now see me. Yep. All right. So I see me. Okay. So what do we got? 2 more minutes. So anybody can hear us now. Just, better turn down my voice. There we go. Turn down the voice. Okay, I've got the chat up there. So we got about 2 minutes.
Well, if you're live, just go for it.
Well, yeah, but I want to wait till 7 because if somebody comes on at 7, I don't want to. It's only another minute away now. Yeah, we'll just hang in there for a second here. Here's this. Look at this. I caught, and if anybody's watching now, they'll get a charge. Here's from Paradolia. I caught flack, not flack, but people were making fun that I was drinking it straight from this. I guess the proper etiquette is you pour it from this, but I've decided I'm not going to do that again. I'm going to just drink it from that. So,
Barbarian.
I am a barbarian. I'm a Yankee. What do you expect?
Barbarian.
And
beer comes in bottles, not cans.
So you know what I need to do real quick. I need to, before we start, display and brightness, auto lock. I can hear you, yeah. All right. Hopefully, I'm going to get out of this just for a second. Now we're behind schedule, aren't we? Hold on here. Behind schedule now here, guys. I've screwed it up. Screwed up the works. So we're going live. Back in again. Okay, all right. Oh, okay. That's bad because people like that. Deborah over in France thinks the world of Ryan. So, all right, let's get the show on. It's 7:00. You ready, Chris?
I'm here.
You sure?
That's the best you're gonna get.
Okay. Well, I just got the notice on the phone here that we're live, so let's get this on the road. And hey, everybody, it's Larry Lawson back with you with my favorite co-host, my buddy Chris Huff, and we're on the air with Indian River Hauntings. So say hi, Chris.
Hi, Chris.
Hi, Chris. Chris, still a little under the weather. We're glad to have him back. We missed you last week. Do want to take a second to thank.
No, you didn't miss me. Ike did a hell of a job.
Yeah, he did. Ike. Did you hear him? Did you hear Ryan? Could you hear Ryan, Chris?
No.
Nope. Okay, I guess I'm the only one that can hear him then. Folks, Ryan's with us too in Orlando.
Well, folks, I can hear him, but I can't hear what he's saying.
Oh, okay. Well, anyway, folks, we're on the air with Indian River Hauntings. Larry Lawson here from Indian River Hauntings and the Florida Bureau of Paranormal Investigation with my co-host Chris Huff. Want to take a second to thank our good friend Ike Enzi out in New Mexico for stepping up for Chris last week when he was sick, and we had a heck of a good show. Ike and I did. He's got some interesting stuff. IDK Paranormal, folks. If you get a chance, go to Ike's YouTube site, listen to his shows. He's got some cool stuff. Got some really good guests coming on. We've got a beer challenge going. We're going to go into that in just a couple of minutes. But it's good to have you back, Chris. How you feeling, buddy?
55%, dropping to 50. Not good.
Come on. Well, hang in there, buddy. Hang in there. Everybody missed just
after Christmas, after New Year. If we're back on the 2nd or we're back on the 9th, whichever it falls on, then I'll be much better.
Okay, and folks, just to let you know, this will be our last show of the year. Yes, last show of 2019, and we're going to talk about what's happened over this last year in tonight's show. But we'll be back after Christmas. We will not be on next week. So we're looking possibly the 2nd, maybe the 9th of January for our return for the year 2020. So keep your eyes out. We'll get an announcement out on YouTube. And of course, the Indian River Hauntings Facebook page will get word out to you there. Want to give our usual shout outs. I'll do mine first. And Chris, if you've got any, want to say hi to our friends.
I've got nothing.
Got
I've got nothing. I've got no friends, me. Billy, no
Oh,
mates.
they all, you're so humble. But the Driftwood Resort in Vero Beach, Florida, one of the places that we do our tours at. Want to say hi to Joe and Zach, and they're just terrific to us there. So hello to our friends at the Driftwood Resort, Vero Beach, also the home of Waldo's Restaurant and the home of kind of the guy that built Vero Beach, a guy named Waldo Sexton. The Marsh Landing Restaurant out in Fellsmere, Florida. Our good friend Susan Adams and Amber Serta and those folks always taking good care of us in Fellsmere. Of course, my good friend, Chris's good friend, Ike Enzi with IDK Paranormal. Once again, strongly urge all of you to go see his YouTube show. It's really good. Doodlebug Dowsing, the only place that we get our dowsing rods from for our investigations. Nikki Shreves and Sherry Cox does a great job up there in Orlando, Florida. If you're looking for dowsing rods, go see their website, doodlebugdowsing.com. Damian Freddy, our good friend in York, who is the best ghost storyteller in that part of England. If you're ever in York, go see him at the Golden Fleece. He's a terrific storyteller and got great things to tell you about on the haunted side. And one thing, I do want to say hello to our good friends, Pete and everybody at Paradolia Brewery in Sebastian, Florida. They're great friends of the show, good friends of ours. We've investigated their little establishment that we're going to talk a little bit about that tonight, and it's going to be their beer that I feature on our beer challenge, and it's this great stuff called Cosmic Silence. Yes, indeed. Now, I took some ribbing for drinking it straight from this 32-ounce can growler. I was thinking about putting it in a cup, but nope. I'm going to keep with my new tradition and drink it straight from the can when we start our beer challenge in just a couple of minutes. Any shout outs for you at all, Chris? Anybody you want to say hi to?
No, if anyone's there who knows me, hello. That'll do.
Okay. Subscribe, folks. Please hit subscribe. We're getting a little bit halfway to our goal, and when we get closer to our goal, we're going to be announcing a contest when we hit our goal. And it's going to be a great prize involved. So please subscribe, hit the button that gets the little bell that lets you know when there's new content out there. But please subscribe and hit like also. If you've got any announcements, now, if there's anybody out there with a team, I know I've got a good friend, Heather, out there that's watching out in Sin City Paranormal. So hi to Heather, and all our friends at Sin City.
So it really is Sin City.
Sorry about that, Heather. But in Sin City Paranormal out there in Las Vegas, Nevada.
So do we have flights out there? Can we arrange a joint investigation there sometime?
Well, what do you say, Heather? We'd love to come to Las Vegas, work with you guys, and for paranormal investigation, Chris. But we'd like to get out there. But hi to our friends at Sin City Paranormal and Heather. But any group out there, anybody that's doing anything, if you want us to announce what you've got coming up on your events wise with your group, we talk about War Party Paranormal. Our good friends down there in War Party. Oh, did you give me? That was the hand. Oh, we're getting the hand from Chris. Let us know so I can announce it here on the show what it is you've got going so other people can hear about it. More importantly, folks, On the Air with Indian River Hauntings is not just about us. It's about all of us. It's about you. It's about Chris and I and everybody involved in the world of paranormal research and investigation. Ask us questions. Share your stories. You can always get a hold of me at ghostguy59@gmail.com. You can always answer send us your questions or your thoughts to that email address. We will answer them. Hopefully, I won't forget. If I do, please remind me if I forget to ever announce your question. And you can also visit us at www.indianriverhauntings.com or www.paranormalfbi.com with the Florida Bureau of Paranormal Investigation. Kind of keep up on what we're doing. You can ask us questions, but be part of this. That's what this is all about, is being part of it. Would you agree, Chris? Are you awake?
I'm still here. I'm just letting you get on with it.
Okay. Well, now for the beer challenge. This is, I mentioned a moment ago, this is Cosmic Silence from the Paradolia Brewing Company. Listen, if you're in Sebastian, Florida, you got to stop by this place. It is awesome. Pete and the gang do a great job down there. Just good folks, great times sitting on the beach in Sebastian, Florida. You just can't beat it, drinking this great beer. And yes, folks, I am going to drink it from the can. I am going to commit another etiquette sin by drinking it from the can, but I don't care because this is good stuff. I don't care if you don't like it. I'm going to do it anyway. Oh, it's
like
got
that
it's
one.
stuff. Yeah, this has got kind of and Pete told me about it. It's got a chocolatey taste to it. It's 6.8%, which isn't super high. Man, but it's got this great chocolatey taste to it. It's not too strong, but this is a really tasty beer called Cosmic Silence Stout. Cosmic Silence Stout. Wow, that's good stuff. I probably will finish this before the end of the show, and I will. Right now, I can't guarantee anything I'm going to say. So, all right, we'll see how it goes. But yeah, that's a great beer. I think I got you on this one, Ike. I don't know what you're going to pull up on your next show, but this is pretty good. It's not that 10 and 11 stuff that we've been doing lately, but this is really tasty beer. And when we get together, you're going to have to try this beer. Anyway, on with the show. We've done all the preamble stuff. I want to talk about 2019. It's been a big year for the two of us, hasn't it?
Remembering back to June. That's my big memory. Sitting in the Golden Fleece at York. Your first time in the Golden Fleece, and a nice pint of Hobgoblin, which went down very well for you.
Oh, I loved it.
Up came the idea of not only doing the tours over to here at some stage in the future, but also an on-air show.
Yeah,
and that's where this all started.
Yep, it sure did. In fact, it was you and Ryan that convinced me to do this, to just start chatting on YouTube, get folks out there that want to talk about the paranormal. You're right. It was at the Golden Fleece. Oh, here we go. Here we got some folks checking in like this. Dan Squatch checking in. Good to see you, Danny. M18, always good to see you. Dan says Bigfoot saw him the other day, but nobody believes it. Oh, Bigfoot saw Dan, but nobody believes Bigfoot. I believe that. If you've ever seen Dan, he's about the size of Bigfoot, big man. So anyway, hi guys. M18, always good to see you, buddy. Glad you're back on. But back to the Golden Fleece. Yeah, that was quite a night, wasn't it?
Oh, that's interesting. Once again, I saw a spirit in there, so yeah, interesting.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, there is an airman that's seen in there. Do I have that right?
Allegedly.
Okay.
Allegedly. It really is one of these allegedly. He's named. He can't be found in any records. So, yeah, allegedly. But that's not what. I mean, I saw a young blonde-haired boy stick his head through the door, have a look at us, and then off he went again. So, but that was all that was there that night. But I have seen a woman in a sort of black dress with a white pinny on the front walk down the corridor ahead of me and vanish. So that
I remember
was
you mentioned that.
That was probably about 1991 when I was at York University.
Oh, okay. I thought you'd seen it that night we were out there.
No, that was back in 1991 when we did an investigation there.
Okay, maybe it's what you had told me about it. But I remember you telling me about seeing the little blonde boy stick his head around the corner when Damien was telling his story.
Yeah, I mean, I was just aware of this boy sticking his head around the door. He was very obvious, but everyone else was all focused on what was going on, and he was just sort of looking in. And I think he saw me looking at him, and he thought, "Well, that's the end of that. I'm off."
Uh, that night had such a feel to it. You just knew it was right to be there. It was almost like timing, kismet, if you will, synchronicity. We just were supposed to be there that night. That's how it felt to me anyway.
And it had
Oh,
Hobgoblin on.
had Hobgoblin. Oh God, I got to tell you, Hobgoblins. Yeah, that was good stuff. And I'm not a big beer drinker. Debbie Enzi is checked in. Debbie, good to see you. I take it Ike must still be at work. That's Ike's other half. I want better half. It's always Ike's better half checking in. So good to hear from you, Deb. Yeah, that was a heck of a night. Now it was the next day that we went to RAF Elvington, wasn't it?
It was Elvington, yeah.
Yeah.
Which that was my second visit to Elvington.
Mm-hmm.
The first it was odd because the first one they were. I mean, when was that? Probably about 1989. Really a long way back, and it had nothing like it was now. It was quite sparse then.
Mm-hmm.
I just wish they'd turn the commentary thing off in the tower, because I couldn't think. I really couldn't. It was so loud.
Oh, the
and
mute.
intrusive.
Yeah.
Not
I
only
remember
not
you
only
telling.
George Formby sitting by a lamppost at the corner of the street, which was really driving me up the wall, but the commentary going on when you actually went into the tower, talking about bombers being diverted to Metheringham and etc. etc. Only diverted to Metheringham because Metheringham had a FIDO system. So if there was fog, they'd be diverted to one of the airfields with a FIDO system to disperse the fog. That's all they were talking about. They didn't explain this, of course, but that's what they were talking about. I'm becoming a hell of an anorak. It's terrible.
By the way, Debbie says she hopes you're feeling better. Debbie Enzi, Ike's wife.
I'm getting there. I really am. Thank Ike. When you see him later, thank Ike for me for standing in. He did one job and a half.
Yeah,
he really did. I enjoyed that. In fact, I've been telling Larry that he should turn it into the Ike and Larry show, not just cut me out. It would sound much better, I tell you. Leave that beer alone, that man.
No, I like it. Now, yeah, that whole going to Elvington was just surreal for me. I mean, we got a chance to walk in one of the only two Halifax bombers left in existence. Remember the guy at the front gate? His last name was Lawson, like mine.
Yeah.
That kind of helped break the ice. It was a.
Oh no. What did it was you saying that your father was in the RAF?
Yeah.
In Bomber Command.
Yeah.
That was it. You're immediately in. You're accepted.
Yeah, that was surreal. But and we've talked about this in the earlier show, so I don't want to beat it up too much. But going into the Quasit Hunt that housed the memorial for 601 Squadron. And 601 Squadron was the Spitfire squadron that protected that area during the Battle of Britain, if memory serves.
It's not as simple as that. They change all over the place. But 601 is the County of Yorkshire or County of York Squadron.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the local squadron. That's how you look at it.
Okay. Well,
but they've set up a room for it, and that was quite interesting.
Yeah, hearing and if you haven't heard that past show before, I'll just touch on it briefly. Chris we were of course recording as we did the investigation there, and Chris got an EVP that said Sergeant Fury, and you could hear it, right? And then Chris doing what we need to do in this world of paranormal research and investigation. Take names, go back and find out how they fit into it. And well, Chris, tell the folks what you found. I mean, that just is the most.
You can only do it if you have confirmation of a rank, and I do mean that, because otherwise it could be anyone. It's no good them coming up and saying my name's Richard Wilson or something. It could be Richard Wilson, a member of a squadron. It could be Richard Wilson, a farmer. It could be someone who's just dropped in for the occasion. So you can't trace them.
Okay,
but if you get a rank, then you can say, right, he's definitely RAF or he's definitely Army or whatever, and you can sometimes work from that.
Well, yeah, but what you found when we heard the name Sergeant Fury on that EVP, You found Sergeant Fury, 601 Squadron. You found his headstone, killed during the Battle of Britain.
Yeah, it happens.
I mean,
if you've got enough information to go
evidence.
on.
Fantastic evidence. Definitely, if one of the highlights, if not the highlight of the trip, other than of course seeing my family, but as far as our work together, that was pretty spectacular, and definitely a confirmation of what we do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so. It's a shame that York's such a busy place, really. When I was there in 89 to 92, it was quite quiet. Of an evening, it was very quiet and it was lovely, but I couldn't believe how busy it was now. It's become very touristy.
Well, and as I'm thinking about it, say we've got St. Augustine just a few hours up the road from me here, which is the oldest city in the North America in America, and very haunted. In fact, St. Augustine, as we've talked about in the show, is the place that got us going with the Florida Bureau of Paranormal Investigation. What happened with Ryan and I there? I kind of equate, when you're talking about how quaint and old York looks, yet how busy and how much tourist traffic it has, I can see the similarities between that in that way with St. Augustine. Now that I think about it, I think St. Augustine was probably a little busier, but and interesting, and just as haunted, I might add, just as haunted. So, okay, so we've got we got the trip to England. That was terrific. Started everything here that we're doing now, and all the stuff that we have planned for the future. Any other big events for you in 2019, paranormal wise?
It's been very quiet, really. At Samain, we did the stone circle of Long Meg, which is about 3000 BC. Just to have a walk around. I didn't get any EVPs. I didn't really expect any, but it was worth a try. And then we did Bruffham Castle, where I got some very good EVPs. One where I asked who owns this, and it comes back immediately, Roger. Now, one of the major owners of the castle in the past was Roger Clifford, who rebuilt the castle. So that was quite an interesting little piece. And then Maiden's Bower, and that's been about it. That's my whole year. Completely 3 investigations for the whole year.
Well,
and 2 house clearances.
Okay.
That's it.
Plus our little gig on the walls around York, as well as because we did a little brief investigation on the walls around York as well as Elvington. So we did it. And folks, and I know folks watching this pretty much understand. You just don't pop out 3 times a week and do investigations. A, we all probably most of us work. B, it's also it can be logistically difficult sometimes. So
it's
3
exhausting. It's absolutely exhausting.
Well, especially with somebody with your talents, it's got to exhaust you.
I haven't got any talents. I'm just a nothing. I've got no talents.
Oh, please. Even Evan tells me when he's out there working with us and he's using the rods and using his abilities, which are still developing, it wears him out also. We've had a hell of a big year. I tell you what, I got to brag for a second about my team on the Florida Bureau of Paranormal Investigation. We got about 10, 12 folks. Spanky, you'll see Spanky Maxwell on there fairly often. Dan Clarkson's my number 2 on the team. He's the lead investigator. We've got a heck of a good team, and we when we do our last investigation of this year, I'm looking at the list now, where we're going to be doing a I got to say this. Ike just came on, and what I got to interrupt for this. Ike just came on. He just said he made it. This is his last day at work. Ike just finished, I think, 30 years. Correct me if I got it wrong, Ike, as a police officer, and he ended as chief of police in Moriarty, New Mexico. My dear friend Ike, thank you for your service and coming out of it in one piece, because a lot of us don't.
Yeah,
so I mean, congratulations.
The whole idea of this, from the information that we get over here about America, and everybody carrying guns, etc., etc., etc. The idea of being in law enforcement would terrify me. Absolutely terrify me.
It's tough. there's no doubt about it. I mean, I still do carry a badge, but I'm just about done, and it'll be 40 years for me in February. But Ike was on the line there, like I said, just retired as chief of police, and hey, buddy, congrats, and my hat's off to you, and thank you for your service, Ike. But anyway, getting back to what we were talking about, our team's last investigation of this year is going to be the 28th, right after Christmas, where we're going to be investigating one of the nastiest, most notorious prisons that were in the state of Florida when it was up, and it's now defunct. I'm not going to name the name now, but it's up in the Glades area of Florida, and that will be 18 investigations we've done this year as a team, and that includes what we did in England. But I mean, a couple of the ones we've done back and forth. We do the first one I did last year. If I can tell you about this one, this is kind of
go for it. This is what this is about.
An example. Well, I go to the Driftwood. I mentioned the Driftwood at the beginning, and it's a resort, and it was built by a guy named Waldo Sexton, who's the one that really developed Vero Beach into what it is today. He loved Vero Beach. He was an entrepreneur par excellence. I mean, he's the one that put the town together. He built this house for his family and turned it into a resort, the Driftwood. And for the last several years, in January, I rent his room, and we've had some pretty good stuff in there. Evan has made contact with him. There's some really cool stories, and the last one's only a few months old, where a guy went in there to repair the place and literally radioed back to the front office saying, "I thought you told me the room was empty," and they said it was. Well, I've got this guy inside the room staring at me, and he described Waldo Sexton, who's been dead since 1967. And Waldo comes back all the time there. But so I rented this room. Evans had some contact with him there. Didn't get a whole lot at first. Went down on the beach, and we're called the Treasure Coast here in Florida. And the reason is we have a lot of Spanish galleons that sank off our shores in the 1700s. The biggest one was the 1715 Plate Fleet, which was actually featured on one of the TV shows. Josh Gates did it. He's had a Destination Unknown, maybe. It was one of his shows. So we're down there on the beach, and we've got nothing on our equipment inside the buildings or on the porch. We go down to the beach, our equipment goes crazy. Now, bear in mind, it's kind of a blustery night, but there's nothing out there that would cause EMF. No wires, no anything. We're holding our equipment. It's like things are standing around us. And as I do sometimes, I'll do live video or Facebook Live things. And as I'm doing that, a guy comes on and says, "Yeah, I'm just down the road here at the Ocean Grill restaurant, and last night I saw a guy standing in the surf up to his calves, and then he disappeared." And I said, "Well, yeah, you're probably just partying too much, dude." But then I start doing some research, and I find out that many people have seen people standing in the surf there, and probably because so many people died during the 1715. It was wrecked by a giant hurricane in July of 1715, and other ships have gone down there and people have died. But that was a pretty great way to start off the year. I went back to the room. Then our equipment started going off that night, and it was really an interesting evening. Great way to start the year. We went back to one of our famous places here that called the Hallstrom House, one of the first houses in the area. Sean Ryan's Pub was in February. Great place up there in 14th Avenue in Vero. But on 3/16, we were asked to investigate a place called the Rib City Restaurant. And those of you that are down this way may have heard about it. It's in Grand Valcaria in Brevard County. It was the first mercantile store in that area. And I won't bore you with all the history, but we went and investigated, and we got some pretty good stuff. But the best part about it was on our cameras, where we actually had a chair move out and move in, and we got it clear on camera. Just one of those pieces of evidence that you don't always get. And dang it, we got it.
I have to admit, I've never had a piece of evidence like that. Never.
Yeah. It was pretty cool, and it was funny because the chair moved once out and didn't attract anybody's attention. One of my investigators was sitting off to the side, and then when it moved in, I'm sorry, It moved in first and out. And the second one, you see my investigator turn and look, and there was plenty of space between them. Tried to debunk it, couldn't do it. That chair moved on its own. We got it on camera. It's on our Facebook if anybody's interested. In www.paranormalfbi.com. It's in that on our evidence section there if anybody'd like to see that. So that was pretty cool. Had another one. We had several after that, but probably the most interesting investigation we did this year in 2019 was a boat. You ever done a boat?
No.
No, this was interesting because it was I think a 180-foot freighter. It was seized by U.S. Customs. The Vosé Bernadette had changed hands. I think it was built somewhere in Western Europe, but it got caught once, Holland dope, and was returned. But the second time, U.S. government seized it, and it was to be sunk out off of on our reefs out here for an artificial reef. Before they did it, they stripped it clean of all its wires, no electricity on it, and we got the opportunity to actually go on this 180-foot drug boat that we now believe may have been a boat that brought human trafficking.
I was getting the impression of that. I was sort of going to say, is this slavery or something?
Yeah, it was. I mean, they got
it. Really is, but it's not old. It's recent, isn't it? And they're bringing Puerto Ricans, Mexicans.
Hard to believe. Hard to tell who it was because that was never proven. But they found stuff in that boat that would have indicated the kids were on there.
Yeah.
And here's a boat. It's sitting in the water, okay, away from everything again. Not one piece of electronic equipment on that boat. It is stripped clean because they're going to sink it for a reef. Our EMF equipment was going nuts. Our dowsing rods going nuts. Really an interesting investigation, and definitely one of the most unique ones. I mean, you don't oftentimes get a chance to do an investigation on a ship like that. That was really something. I mean, folks have done like the Queen Mary. I'm sure there's some ships over there, but this was a drug running boat. It was pretty fascinating. Probably the most unique investigation I think we did all year. And if any of my gangs, Dan's out there, I don't know if you agree with me, Dan, but that was probably one of the most unique investigations we did the whole year. And it was right in the middle of the year, just before I came over to see you. So it was kind of a neat halfway point. So,
I mean, one thing which sort of has sprung to mind, which happened. Now everything blurs. Everything really blurs. And I can't remember if it was last year or this year, and it might have been very early this year before I met up with you. And I was down at Middleham Castle, and this is somewhere I need to take you to see. Middleham, it's incredible.
Yeah.
And I was sitting outside waiting for other people to arrive. And this chap started talking to me, in spirit, just started talking to me. And if I can approximate for you, all I was hearing was, well, gosh, this isn't this interesting? Gosh, I mean, wow, I mean, gosh, this is what I was hearing. Just him saying, look at this. I mean, I haven't been here before, but gosh, this is what I was hearing, and I was going through all this little conversation. What's your name? And he wasn't telling me anything. Anyway, when the others arrived, and I was sort of saying about the conversation I was having, one said, "Oh, I know who that is. Somebody who died fairly recently." But I had all his mannerisms right. Because he was a little bit effeminate, but not very effeminate. But he was just, gosh, I mean, isn't this wonderful? I mean, gosh. And
interesting.
On the EVPs, I recorded his voice. And it's just saying, gosh, isn't this wonderful? Gosh.
Just like you were hearing through your mind's eye.
Exactly what I was hearing. Wow. He was coming through very clear. That was just something which sort of sprung to mind for no apparent reason. So I'm sorry for interrupting.
Oh, no. In fact, next time we get over there, we got to figure out a way to do something live so folks can hear us working something in England. We need to at least think about that.
I'm not good at live.
I know you're not. Yeah.
I'm not good at. Yeah, you'd have. you'd have to do something when I'm away with the fairies, as it were, and you just turn the camera on, so I don't know anything about it.
Yeah, we can work with that. We'll figure something.
Otherwise, I'll just sit there and glare at you.
You glare at me anyway.
Well, yeah, that's true.
Well, just something to think about, because I want folks to really. Part of this is sharing with folks what these different places are like. It was such an eye-opening experience for me to go over there, and Ryan, and actually do some of this work outside of our comfort zone, so to speak. So I want other folks to see that. Oh, Jim Wilson's out there. Jim, thanks for joining us. Jim's a member of our team, one of our photographer, is our photographer. So thanks, Jim, for joining us. We did a couple of ones in September. We did a place called the Sebastian Women's Club. Now, that was interesting. I'll share this with you. While we didn't get a lot of hard evidence, like anything on tape, well, to back up just a little bit, this building was built to commemorate a woman, I won't mention any names, who had died. It was married to a local doctor and had died in a car wreck. And she was one of the founders of the Sebastian Junior Women's Club way back about in the 1920s, right? Well, the doctor marries this other woman, and this other woman also becomes like the president of the club. Of course, they've all passed. Well, as we're conducting this investigation, mostly through the rods, but also through the voice box, the spirit box, come to find out these women are both of them are still hanging out there, and they don't much care for each other. Was it because they were sharing the same spouse? We have our suppositions, but we don't know. But it was really, really quite interesting, because in life, people recognize them as being friends. But the one lady dies, the husband marries the next one about 8, 9 months, maybe a year later. Maybe they still don't get along over that. I don't know. But that was really interesting. But
often you'll actually find it's over property. That's what I've found. It's over possessions. People can't let go of possession. It's not of people as much, but it's possessions. There's an awful lot of spirits that I've come into contact who can't let go of the necklace they really loved, and they hate anyone else having it.
Well, in this particular case, the women's club was named after the first wife that died, but it was the second one that showed the most disdain, shall we, of the first one. It was just really, really. I won't say comical. That's not respectful, but it was interesting to watch the. Nah, I don't much care for her, and I'm being taking some literary license there, but it was very, very interesting.
Bitchy. It really can get very bitchy. And you can go from one room to another, and it completely changes in a house. Sorry, I'm doing it again. I'll shut up. Sorry.
Why are you? Oh no, this is great. This is what we. That's why we're here. We're talking. Which reminds me, I'm seeing Dan mentioned the Vossi Bernadette was a very cool investigation. But folks, if you have any thoughts or stuff you want me to bring up, that's what this show is about. Us all talking. So jump on there, make a comment, give us your thoughts. I do got to talk to you about Pareidolia Brewery. Now, I mentioned this a couple shows again. Once again, a quick hit towards this great beer I'm drinking tonight. Ike, you got to try this one, dude. Cosmic Stout. It's only 6.8, but it's good stuff. And yeah, I caught some heat from drinking the full can, but I don't care. I'm doing it anyway. But Pareidolia Brewery, we did the 1st November. And this was a building. The Pareidolia Brewery had started life somewhere else, I want to say in 2014. And then a couple years ago, they moved to this new building, which it's not new. It was built in the 60s as a post office, a U.S. post office. Land was purchased. The government put it up there. And after it ceased being a post office 20 some odd years ago, it became a hardware store, two different companies, but it was all a hardware store. And that was it. And then Pareidolia moves in, and they begin brewing. And let me tell you something, Pete's done a great job there. But they start seeing some things. Now, they come in during the day to get things ready, and of course they're open in the evening. But they start seeing things, everything from maybe things crashing. They heard dishes crashing one day, for example. but there were no dishes on the ground.
Yeah.
A sign comes flipping off of a shelf one day, no explanation why. One day, while Pete and the building owner was in there, they hear this horrendous crash, like something hit the building, and of course they begin to worry because they've got all this brewery equipment in the back that could go boom. Nothing, but they both heard it. So they had a lot of interesting little things there. They call their ghost Frank. In fact, named a beer after him, Frank's Farmhouse. And they keep having some interesting stuff go on in there. So they call us in and we do a daytime. This is one of the few times we've done a daytime investigation because it just fit. And that's when they had seen most of their activity. Now, for those of you out there that watch all the shows, they do everything at night, right? Spirits are with us 24/7. You can see them anytime, and they were experiencing it. So we decided to do a daytime investigation. And it was during that time I was filming it, and I didn't even tell you this part. I know you heard the story, Chris, but there's a new twist to it. I was filming a voice box session. Sherry Cox, I think Crystal Shivers, and I think Trish was in it. They were doing a voice box session. I'm videotaping it. And there's a wall about maybe a foot behind me, all right? And suddenly I hear 4 or 5 piano notes. Ding, 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 ding.
Yeah.
All right, remember that?
Yep.
And I said, guys, you hear this? Did you hear anybody hear that? No, nobody heard a thing. So I play the camera back, right? Play the camera back, and I catch it on the video. Everybody hears it. There's a ukulele on the wall behind me. We strum the ukulele strings. Not the same. These were definite piano, and there's never been a piano in that building, which could lead to a discussion on dimensions, but we all hear it, no question about it. We get some other things, but certainly we did get one. John Brinkley, one of our investigators, got a "I'll murder him" EVP that I was able to confirm on her. So it was some good stuff. But this musical note was interesting because it couldn't have happened. So I'm putting together the report to take to Pete, and I'm looking at the SD card that I filmed all this stuff with. SD card's fried, nothing on it. Now, the upside to it, Jonna had also been recording when we got this, so we got the musical notes on her recorder. But the video camera that I was using, SD card was toast. Everything on it was gone. I know it was there because I went back and checked it. I don't know if anybody out there has had that kind of experience, but if you have, let me know. I'd be interested. I know Chris has had his SD cards.
I mean, I can tell you that one if you're interested. I mean,
let's hear it. Let's hear it.
I can't remember when we went there. This might have been March this year. Might have been March last year. As I said, everything blurs. We went to Eggleston Abbey. No, life just blurs at the moment. Went to Eggleston Abbey, which is quite close and very haunted. Mm-hmm. And I've never had a K2 or any other EMF detector go off there. Never. So I put the K2 in the middle of the old fireplace, big fireplace in what was a converted, a Tudor hall, which had been converted out of the old abbey.
Right.
Turn my back on it. My friend Rod's watching it while I'm turning my back and getting everything else out. And he's saying, look at that. And it's going up to red. And then down to green, red again. And down to green, and it stops. So I thought, right, okay. I'm getting my tri-field meter out. So I got the tri-field out. And you set it up with adjust the fineness on it so it just balances. Got that set up. K2 meter goes off again. Now, there's no electricity there. There's nothing there. It's a ruin in the middle of absolutely nowhere. So this is going off. I've got the K2 set up, and the K2's on the bench next to me. The tri-field's on the bench next to me. The K2's gone off, and all of a sudden the tri-field goes off next to me. Just goes, you know what they're like? Off it goes and down again.
How was that again? Okay, thank you.
There you are. So this was going on for about 5 minutes. Yeah. And in the end, I took the tri-field out, stood in the middle of the hall, absolutely ruined. Nothing much there. Stood in the middle, tri-field on the ground, and I just said, can you make that work? And blow me, it did. I asked it to work. It started working. Just triggered off again.
That's pretty
And
cool.
then I said, "Was that you? Can you do it again?" It did it again. And then that was the end of it all. The last parts of this, I had the camcorder going. I was monitoring it. And then after that, I took some EVP sessions. And then we thought, right, I'm tired. I want to go home. I need a cup of tea. So we did. When we got home, the audio recorder was missing. Now, I put it in the car.
Mm-hmm.
I remember putting it in the car. Missing. It's not there. Never been found, no matter anywhere. Rod's gone through his car. It wasn't there. So I thought, right, okay, well, I've still got all the stuff on the camcorder and the SD card. SD card's fried. Completely and utterly fried. It wouldn't even reformat.
Yep. That's
So
what happened to me.
the whole of that session, it was an incredible session. I've got no evidence for it.
Mm-hmm. Well, we were lucky in ours because I had another investigator also recording, so we still have it. And it's that one you're going to see up on the website in the not too distant future too,
Yep.
folks. So be watching for that. That's going to be pretty awesome. But that's kind of, at least I got something because somebody else was recording. But it sounds very similar to what happened to me. I mean, the card was gone, useless, and I don't understand why. So that was kind of interesting. Now, Ike just dropped something on us here. He looked at that light anomaly we talked about, you and I talked about earlier.
Mm-hmm.
This is the investigation we just did on December 7th at LaPorte Farms. I didn't really want to say the name, but I did anyway. It was in an area called Roseland, Florida, just outside of Sebastian. They asked to come in, and Roseland is, or I'm sorry, Roseland's an old part of the area, old as far as Florida goes. I mean, it was a fishing village and things going on there. But this particular piece of property had a bunch of different things on it over the years, but most interestingly, it has the oldest cemetery in the county. And not only is it the oldest cemetery, but there are a total of 5 bodies buried there.
Mm-hmm.
And Trish and Julie, my research team, that do a bang up job. I mean, Trish is a retired cop herself, and Julie, both of them are real bloodhounds when it comes to doing research, can hardly find any information on this area. And they've only got one headstone with some remains still in there. There was a whole big reason for that, and I won't bore you with it, but there's 5 graves on there. It's now a petting zoo. It's a kid's petting farm, and it's really a fascinating place. So we're out there and we're investigating, and we're in. I'm sitting at the command post like I normally do, and we've got our bank of cameras. We'd set up cameras in different places on the property. I'm sitting there and monitoring it. And we had a group, Sherry Cox's team was in there, and I'm watching it. And this is what Ike's talking about, and you just saw the video yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And what you guys saw on the Facebook is just a snippet. We must have watched it for 10, 15 minutes. I'm sitting there at first just looking at this. I suddenly see this rod of light going from person to person. It would go out a little bit and then would come back, and then it would disappear. Then it would come back again. And I'm thinking, cobweb? Is it a light from a car going by? What's going on? I'm watching it. Now, once you see this, there's also a lot of dust. If you're an orb guy, Dan Squatch, old buddy, there's dust and bugs and moisture everywhere. But this is really specifically different. It is a rod that doesn't change shape or anything. It just moves from person to person. Finally, I go out there and I asked if anybody's got a problem. And it was kind of interesting because as I walked out there, Sherry is doing a active listening session. That she's got the earphones plugged into the spirit box. She can't hear questions. The rest of the team's asking questions. She doesn't even see me walk up because she's like this. And as I come in, she just said, "Larry," that came through the spirit box, which was kind of interesting. We started checking the area. I told him what I'd seen. Sherry also at that point, I just remembered this, had felt somebody behind her because just before she said my name, she said, "Is anybody behind me?" And they weren't because she felt a presence right behind her. So that was kind of interesting also. But we checked, we couldn't find cobwebs, we couldn't see anything else. I go back out, we see the rods again. I go back in there with our SLS camera, which later that night, I might add, we got a figure laying on the table that would reach up its hand to one of my investigators when we asked it to. Very, very cool. And while I was doing that, Mike Maxwell, Spanky, we see him pop up on occasion, would was watching it, and he saw the rod dancing around, and the thing disappeared into me. We never saw it again. That was it.
Mention the horse.
Oh, mention the horse. Yeah. Now, Ike, you've seen this. Tell me what you think also. And I didn't catch this at first. In the snippet that we put on our Facebook, and folks, if you want to see this, once again, go to the Indian River Hauntings Facebook. It's on there right now for folks to look at and comment on, give us your thoughts. But on the snippet that's on there, and Chris caught this, as the rod comes away from the table and stops, the horse in one of the stalls sticks its head out and looks at it, and the rod goes away.
Yep.
Your thoughts, Ike? I don't know if you saw that or not. And some of his questions were, the light anomaly recorded. What does Chris think about that? What did you think about it, first of all? The light rod.
I have no idea what it is. That's as much as I'll go, because I can't say it's not spider silk because it doesn't act like it. It's not hair because it doesn't look like it. That's another common one, hair in front of the lens.
Sure.
Especially if you've got long hair, it's a problem. I can't answer it. I don't know what it is. Unless you deliberately set it up with some fishing line, and I know you wouldn't do that. I've no idea what it is. Yeah, exactly. You don't need to. The evidence is out there just to be caught.
It's there, exactly. And he asked if there was a paradigm shift of sorts. I'm not sure quite what you mean, Ike, except that maybe different light shapes. And I thought that at first too, because we're probably several hundred yards away from a dirt road, and there's a railroad track probably another 400 or 500 yards to the east. And I thought, could it be what the train that went by? Before I even went out. Before I even went out there to question them, I'm thinking of all these things, and it was none of it. We tried to debunk it, and we couldn't do it. So I'm not really sure what you mean by a paradigm shift, Ike. If you can explain that a little bit better, because my addled brain isn't getting it. But the lights were in there. Now you'll see in that little snippet a big ball of light at the top. That was because the DVR stopped recording. Yeah, the DVR stopped recording. So what we had to do when we figured that out, and it was after one of the last things we recorded, we had to take a cell phone out and actually record it off the monitors because the DVR was acting up, and that ball of light you see is from the cell phone up there. So if that's what you mean. Can't explain it, folks. I'd really like it. Those of you that are listening that aren't familiar with it, go to the Indian River Hauntings Facebook page and check it out. Like it too, if you would. But check that video out and tell us what you think. We're really looking to get other folks' opinion on it. So I would really, really appreciate that. But that's the light anomaly that Ike's talking about. Cannot explain it. I sat there and probably, Chris, watched it for a good 4 or 5 minutes before I said, this is not right. Something is funky here. And that's when I went out there, came back, saw it again, went back with the SLS camera. And that's when they got it disappearing into me, never to be seen again. So,
I mean, that's the most interesting part, isn't it? If it was spider silk, if it was something of the here and now, then it just have disappeared into the background of your clothing, so you just didn't see it. And then when you moved again, it'll be back.
Good point. Good point. Yeah. We got one hit on the Facebook page of somebody that said they had something similar like that happen to them. So if anybody out there has had an anomaly like that, would love to hear from you. Love to get your thoughts on it. So please take a look at that little snippet on there. It was kind of interesting, but heck, it's been a great year, and we're ending it up, as I said, out in this abandoned prison out in the middle of the what we call near the lake, just north of the Everglades. And it's a place where when I was on the job full time, everybody knew this prison because of just the horrors that went on there and the people that were killed and everything. It was just a tough place. So looking forward to ending the year investigating that with our good friends War Party Paranormal. They're the ones getting us in there. So
Right.
I really appreciate Scotty and the gang getting me in there. But that's a hell of a way to end the year.
So
let's see
what about plans for next year? What have you got?
Well,
Anything in the pipeline?
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, January 4th, we're at the we're doing a theater at a local place. I don't want to give the name yet, but we're doing a theater on January 4th. The 11th, we may be doing oh, my mind just went blank. Another spot. My mind just went blank. So we've got stuff happening right away. Coming back to England to see you, my friend, and we're going to do some more investigating, and we're going to be setting up for our tour that we're going to take folks from wherever they want to come from. We're going to England to investigate some English haunts there, in particularly RAF airfields, haunted RAF airfields.
Well, we can
and
do
that
one.
will be,
I actually, talking of which, I've got a little story for you, which I haven't related to just about anyone. I did a recording at Grafton Underwood. If you look on my channel, there is one at Grafton Underwood, another USAF station.
Oh, okay.
And the control tower's still there. It's a ruin. It's just a shell, but it's still there. And while I was up on the top, not up, in the top floor, looking out into the field, and there's just wheat fields at the time in front of it. There was an old boy in the middle of the field, and he had baggy charcoal grey trousers on, which I thought went down to Wellington boots, but you couldn't really see with the height of the wheat. And he had an old-fashioned looking checky shirt on and a green pullover, short sleeve pullover.
Right.
And he had a red handkerchief around his neck, knotted around his neck. And as I looked out of this thing, and I thought, oh my God, it's the farmer. He's going to be in here in a minute. And we're going to get the whole "get her off my land" business as he pokes a shotgun at me. But this old boy, he just waves at me from the middle of the field, just waves at me. So I sort of looked at him, nodded, waved back. Yeah.
Sorry.
And then, I thought, oh, well, there's nothing more about this. I went for a little wander around the top floor, and I must have been a minute. They're not big, these control towers. Must have been a minute. And I came back in and I looked out of this field. Open expanse. Lots and lots of open expanse. This guy was in the middle of the field. And when I got back there was no one there.
Really?
There wasn't time for him to get out of the wheat field. So unless he actually ducked down and laid on the ground, hidden by the wheat, I have no answer for what happened.
Got to see that. See, that's why we want to go to England.
Now, I can, as always, I can't tell you if it's a spirit sighting, i.e. an apparition, or it's something I'm seeing, because what I see is almost identical to an apparition. So I can't tell you if what is and what isn't an apparition. So it could just be a spirit in the field waving at me, but I'm just getting such a clear image. But that was interesting.
Yeah, well, and that's one of the things we want to see. Now, in addition to getting over to see you, going to go see Ike Enzi. Yep, we're going to our plan is to put together a tour to go to the old American Southwest and see and investigate some cool places out there. I'm working with Ike at IDK Paranormal now to try and put something together, and we're looking forward to that. So 2020 is going to be a heck of a busy year.
It's going to be a busy one for you, isn't it?
Yeah, well, and January 11th, Dan Clarkson just reminded me we're doing Mel Fisher's Treasure Museum January 11th. That was what it was. And that is Mel Fisher is the guy that found the Etosha off the Florida Keys.
That's the fleet, yeah.
Well, the fleet, he was part of the fleet up here, but the Etosha was an even bigger treasure ship he found down in the Keys. And one of his two treasure museums is in Sebastian, and we've investigated twice, and we're going back for a third one on January 11th. So thank you, Danny, for mentioning that. And by the way, this is what Cosmic Silence looks like. Nice and dark. Good tasting stuff.
Well, I'm out of water. It's disgusting.
Yeah.
Look, I'm out of
At
water.
any
Look,
rate, here, let
I
me
can't.
pour you a little bit.
I still can't handle beer. There's no way.
Well,
It's still that
because
bad.
you've been ill, you let's put this in perspective. You can handle beer when you're feeling better. You just can't handle
Oh
it now
yeah,
because you've been
not at the
sick.
moment.
Okay.
No,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's not. It's really not
But
fair. So I don't know what I'm doing next year. I can't plan anything. I'm not in charge. The other side just come and tell me you've got to go somewhere, and it's a case of, all right, okay then. So as far as I know, the first engagement I've got is when you come over in June, July.
okay. Well, that's gonna be the plan, and folks keep tuned in because the trip to England won't be this summer; it'll be the following one. But we're going to be putting this together and watch for our trip to the U.S. Southwest. That's going to be another terrific time, also.
That's going to be a much
Most,
easier one to arrange, isn't it?
well, yes and no. I mean, it's all relative to the situation. Either way, it's going to be a great time because man, when you listen to Ike and you hear some of the stuff that he's dealt with and some of the stuff that he and I've talked about out there, that's going to be a fun trip too.
Mm-hmm.
But you got to understand, it's different. You can't compare anything we have here to what you have. So
Yes, you
it's
can.
it's all
The phenomena's the same.
yeah. But let me tell you something. For me, being a Yankee going over there and experiencing all of that, no, it's different. You're right. The phenomenon is the same. EVPs, but the atmosphere is just different. You'll have to take my word for that one. It's just
Well,
flat different.
when you come over and see Durham, we'll just walk just outside the city, and you can come and see a Bronze Age burial mound. How about one of them?
I could dig that. I mean,
1500 BC. How about one of them? And it's just
I
outside the city.
yeah, just that's just like a little
And then,
while
then,
ago. Yeah.
then we'll do the Iron Age Hill Fort, which is around about 200 BC. We'll do that on the same day.
Okay. Very good. Very, well, I can't believe it. Once again, we're just about out of time. I mean, this one went quick again tonight, but I appreciate everybody out there that was watching us, Dan and Ike and Jimmy and Debbie NZ and M18. Man, M18, you've been quiet tonight, man. I haven't heard much from you. Hope everything's okay. Haven't heard much from Paul either. We didn't hear from Paul tonight.
He's in
Oh,
Canada, isn't he?
he's in Canada. That's right. He's in
Yeah,
Canada.
he's a dirty
Um,
stop out in Canada.
Well, hopefully he'll catch some of these shows later. But just letting you know, Paul, we're thinking of you, and we're thinking of all of you folks. Remember, this show is about all of us. It's Chris and I are just hosting it. Ike stepping in to help out to host it. But this is about all of us in the field, sharing information, um, getting looking forward to finding the answers to what the phenomenon is from whatever different angle, from the scientific angle, from the psychic angle. But most importantly, folks, let's talk about it. Questions, thoughts, comments, ghostguy59@gmail.com. That's ghostguy59, all one word, at gmail.com. That's how you can get any kind of questions or thoughts to me. Visit our website, www.indianriverhauntings.com or www.paranormalfbi.com, and that's how you can get to our websites. And let's communicate. Let's talk. Like and subscribe. Don't forget that. Share this with folks. Let's get the word out. Let's make this a forum for us to share our knowledge of the paranormal. So I appreciate.
As they say, if you like it, tell your friends, and if you don't, tell your enemies.
Fair enough. Fair enough. So a great show tonight, man. I appreciate it. I'm glad you're feeling better. You
Getting on
still
my
look like
feet.
hell, but
Thank you very much. Well, it doesn't get any better than this, I tell you. Um, if you're very bad when you come over here, I'll take you to see some of my Bigfoot sites. I'd like to get your input on them.
Did you hear that, Dan? Did you hear that? Bigfoot in England, Dan? Dan Squatch? Come on, dude. You got to still be listening. Come on, give
So
me a.
if you're not careful, I'll drag you out to some of these in some remote little areas, and actually they're not that remote little areas. They're fairly close to habitation.
Well, Dan says Bigfoot and orbs are real. Dan and I go back and forth on orbs all the time. So, anyway, folks, I appreciate you. Anything you want to add tonight, old friend? Ryan, anything you want to add? And I'll see if Ryan can hear us.
I haven't heard from. Oh, he's there.
I don't. Can they hear you at all, Ryan?
I can
Okay,
hear you
well,
now. I can hear you. Oh, right. Okay.
well, but Ryan quietly sits in the background and gets us through each evening.
He
He is
does
an
indeed.
absolute rock. He is a
He's a
rock.
complete star. He's a complete
Yeah.
star.
So
He's a complete star, and you need to treat him better.
he's my son. I don't have to.
Yes, you do.
Okay.
Yes, you do.
Okay.
Yes, you do. You've got my orders on this. You've got to treat him better. You've got to buy him at least one
Sorry.
bottle of beer a week for every time he does this. Isn't that right, Ryan? It's 18 bottles. It's a crate.
Yeah. Can you believe this is our 18th show?
Yep.
We're right around the corner from 20. We're not doing bad at all, guys. So, um, so folks out there, be part of us. Continue being part of us. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. We're going to get out of here now. We will not be here next week. It's Christmas holiday, so do not. You will not hear us on the air next week. Whether we come back, what did you say, the 2nd or the 9th is up in the air yet?
The 2nd is a possible.
Okay.
The 9th will definitely be back, but the 2nd's a possible.
Okay, so what you need to do is watch our Facebook site, Indian River Hauntings. We'll be announcing when we're coming back there, and we'll try and get something up on YouTube also to let you know. But it'll either be the 2nd or the 9th. During this time, I want you folks to think about stuff you want to hear more about, questions you want to ask, topics you want to hear. Maybe somebody you'd like to have us interview on the show. What do you think of that? Maybe, Chris? I mean, if they got somebody out there we want.
All they're going to do is come back and say, "Get that English bastard off your channel."
They're not.
Ryan that's what's
says
going to
he'd
happen.
love.
Get rid of it. They're going to come and say, "Get Ike back. Get Ike back quickly." Well, they can understand
hey.
it.
Oh, wait a minute. Wait, I got to go back just a couple here. Jim Wilson, before we go, guys, Jim Wilson on our team, he had an EVP from Mel Fisher. We asked him, do you like treasure hunting, Mel? Or do you like treasure hunting? And Mel, and we got an EVP, says, I love treasure hunting. I forgot about that, Jim. Thanks for bringing that up. That was
I
a
like
while ago.
I like sentient replies. More than one word sentient replies, especially sentences.
Yeah, I forgot about that. That was a little while ago. That I think our second investigation we got that one. So thank you, Jimmy, for bringing that one up there. And they can't hear you, Ryan, but just so that you folks know what Ryan said to Chris's talk about getting that bloody Englishman off there is, we love that bloody Englishman. So that's what Ryan had to say. All right, we got to go.
He's just waiting for the hobgoblin when he next comes over. That's all it is.
We all love you, buddy, but we got to go. We're past time. People are got to go to bed and stuff like that, and I know you got to get some rest because I need you healthy when we get back on the air. Okay.
Yeah.
So we're out of here, guys. Thanks for watching. Have a merry Christmas, everybody. Enjoy the holidays. Spend it with your family, and we'll see you in a couple weeks. Merry Christmas and so long. We'll see you on the other side.